So, I was born with a blessing and a curse. If you ever watch Monk, A Blessing and a Curse, I was given a gift. Un regalo de Dios. I was given a gift. C'est un cadeau de mon Dieu. A gift from my God in French and in Spanish. But I was also given a curse. My life has been like hell. I grew up with Asperger's syndrome, with autism. If anybody knows what autism is, and especially in the days that I grew up, it's not fun to have autism. My life is very lonely. I'm not very good with people, and I don't get many people that touch me or I can hold. I'm not very good at being loved, because people with autism don't like to be touched, although they need to be touched. People with autism, with Asperger's syndrome like me, are often very misunderstood and have social anxiety, which makes them unable to be able to reach out to people and actually feel loved. Your parents don't know what to do. They don't know how to love you. They don't know how to touch you because you don't want to be touched, but you're just autistic. And then you get beat up by everybody around you because you're different. And you don't fit in, and you can't fit in, no matter what you do. I was spat on from head to toe. I've told people this story before. I was out by the seesaw, and all of a sudden, some kid looked at me. I just wanted to come over to be accepted, but because I was different, this one kid, very mean, his name was Steve, I remember. I don't want to say his last name, but he spat on me. And then all the other kids in the group spat on me. I was spat upon, and after I was spat upon, I went in the woods, and the principal called me in. They all had to come and get me, this crazy kid that's laying outside in the woods crying. And when I went before Mr. Sperduto at the principal's office, I felt this terrible weight. You know, I'm going to see the principal's office. You know, it wouldn't have occurred to me that it wasn't my fault. Other things happened to me in my life, like the school dance. So they line up all these girls on the other side of the gym, right? You know, and you're supposed to ask somebody to dance. So other people who are social are dancing on the floor, but you're one of the people who's sitting on the sidelines looking at the other side of these girls who are waiting to be asked to dance. And it was the most terrible thing for a school to put you through, to be sitting on one side of the room and on the other side of the room and unable to talk to people. Or how about when I go to churches or when I go into public places and I don't want to be around people and I don't look people in the eye and I look like I'm some sort of freaking nut, and security guards stop you because they think you're strange, because you have autism. Shall I blame God for making me the way He made me? Or should I look at it this way? He also gave me the ability to speak languages. Tengo la habilidad de hablar el español. Leer en el español. I read along in Greek. I'm not great at it, but I'm reading the Bible in Greek. And I'm listening to it, and I'm enjoying it. And I'm given the ability to take the scriptures apart and the things that the terrible things that happened in my life. I could either blame God for them or not. The Arminian perspective says that God doesn't have the right to cause suffering in people's lives. Job had everything taken off of him. But I'm wondering what kind of man Job was afterwards. Why that experience? Or I'm wondering if Job hadn't gone through that experience, would there have been an example for us? God had a purpose for Job. And I don't know what that is. But you see, if you say to God that you're not allowed to mold the clay, He made me into a vessel. He made me into an arrow, and a very fine one at that. He gave me a tongue to speak and the ability to see things. He put me through Roman Catholicism growing up and going through experiences in my life that weren't pretty horrible, I would say. I can't even tell you the amount of suffering that I've gone through and how many times I've been angry at God to my own dismay, but winding up saying, well, God, to where else do I go? You're my God. You made me. You created me. You could have stopped calamity, but you gave it to me on purpose. And many times in the Bible you read where the Lord's hand was heavy on me. You know, look at the Psalms. You know, did David look like he had the greatest of lives? The point I'm getting at here is that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. In my life and the way He cut me and made me and molded me to be His arrow, and the sufferings that He puts me through, and how much the stripes that He has given me prove that I'm His child. Because, you know, a father does discipline his child, and some of those stripes are really hard. They show me that the hardship showed me how precious it is to love people, including my children, and how much I want to have the love of my family and my kids. Because I have autism and I talk all the time and I snore, I've been alienated a lot from my family. They're all moving away from this autistic guy. I don't want to complain. I thank God for the sufferings that He's giving me. But He has me here in this humble position where I sit and I pray. And I talk to God all the time because I live alone now. My wife is in New Jersey. She'll be back in a few weeks. But I live in this trailer because I can't stop talking. I can't stop being autistic and different from other people. My life is a tragedy, ladies and gentlemen. It's a tragedy. But also, I don't know what fruit will come from the sufferings that God has put me through, except for that He's put me through these sufferings, even the things that happened with Luke, so that this way I can speak. If these things never happened, then I wouldn't have been able to open up my mouth so resolutely and so powerfully. You see, God had a plan for me, and I have no right to say anything. But I do have a right to pray and ask God for blessings in my life. And I do have a free will that He gives me because I do what I wish to do, but He works in my heart, thank God He does, to change my heart, to discipline me, to put His hand upon me, to send His Holy Spirit to not only save me and tell me that I'm saved, but also talk to my spirit and say, hey, you know what, I've got you in my hand. Holiness is important to God, and my personal holiness is very important to me. But my personal holiness doesn't buy me anything. But it does, to a certain degree. For my salvation was paid for. But a man reaps what a man sows. And when you look at your life and you see the things that happened, and how the mistakes that you made have carved out who you are, you see that no matter what it is, it's yours, it's your life. And if you'll bend the knee to God and humble yourself and sit in His presence, humbled but at the same time knowing you're loved, and bask in His love, but at the same time remember that He's holy. Remember that holiness means love. You say God is love, and God is also punishment. He does discipline His children. And He brings them to a realization that although you may be released from the law by the blood of Christ, you don't live your life to hurt yourself, your God, and other people. You live your life in holiness, and He demands it from you. So you'd say, then you'd be called, you're talking about lordship salvation. No, I'm talking about you're sanctified through and through.